This is The Drive with Dale Lolley and Matt Williamson on your 24/7 home of the black and gold. SNR, Steelers Nation Radio.
And welcome to The Drive. I am Dale Lolley. He is the Matt Williamson, except no imitations. And this is The Drive here on the Steelers Audio Network. And it's a snowy Tuesday here in Pittsburgh again. We've had snow on the ground for well over a week.
Yeah.
We're like going on 2 weeks of nothing but snow on the ground, and it keeps adding to it on a regular basis.
Yeah, right. Driving here, the roads were getting worse and worse, and I actually had to stop at CVS, and I was walking my car, I almost bit it, sliding through the, almost went down. I'm like, oh, man.
Yeah. Be careful out there.
Right.
Yeah, be careful out there. But we're in the winter of the Steelers season as well. Mike Tomlin holding his season-ending press conference today. And saying that, they've already begun having meetings and discussions regarding, what went wrong, where they can change things, that kind of stuff. These are the kind of things that need to take place when you come out of a season, as he said, that you didn't reach your goals. And it's all part of the process. There's a lot that has to be decided about this team moving forward.
100%. Probably even to the point where do we look at everything differently? Let's just take a step back and not just go, exactly on script of how we handle the offseason, how we handle a practice week. I mean, not that it was a disastrous season, but it seems like a good time to just look at, let's make sure our process is, sound still, and from top to bottom. And then you start getting into all these coaches are going to come back, or all these players are going to come back. What do we do with free agency? Of course, there's quarterback decisions, schematic stuff too. So there's a lot to unpack here before you start building your draft boards and stuff like that too. Even.
Yeah, I mean, it comes at you fast from here on out. For example, 2 weeks from now, we'll be in Mobile, Alabama, doing a show.
Yeah, right.
At the Senior Bowl, and I'm very excited about that.
Looks like a loaded roster.
The rosters were released yesterday,
Yeah.
and boy, there's a lot of great prospects down there that we're going to get a chance to put eyes on.
That's what I've been doing pretty much for the last 24 hours is studying those rosters, and there's a lot of good-looking players, so it's going to be a good time.
Yeah. It's a deep, talented group that's going to be down there, and there's some positions that are really loaded that would help this team out.
Probably some future Steelers are going to Mobile in a couple weeks.
I would not doubt that one bit.
Right.
And then, a few weeks after that you got the Combine.
Mm-hmm.
And
another great week.
2 weeks after the Combine is the opening of free agency.
Mm-hmm. Which is the busiest week of the year.
It comes at you quickly.
Really is.
And you've got about, give or take a little over, today's January 14th, so you've got about 2 months to make decisions on your free agents.
And I know we have some new listeners and things, but Combine Week is a blast for you guys, too. I mean, we grab all kinds of different media folks.
We'll do the same thing at the Senior Bowl.
In the Senior Bowl, we'll grab quite a few, too. That'll be my first year going in, the last 10 years. So I'm psyched to get back down there.
Yeah, it's, you get practice sessions going on in front of you. You got all that fun stuff. But we'll get into that, talk a little more about what Mike Tomlin had to say today.
Mm-hmm.
He was asked about the quarterback situation.
I'm sure.
And said, look, he was asked, do you have a plan at quarterback? He said, obviously we don't have a quarterback under contract, and so we've got some major discussions there. It was a really good experience with the three quarterbacks that were on our roster this year, individually and collectively. We're certainly open to considering those guys, but there's a lot of work ahead. The major work obviously starts first and foremost by understanding what our options are, what the field looks like in terms of free agency, the draft pool, and then beginning the process in terms of decision-making based on those known variables. And he said he and Omar Khan have a half day carved out later this week to begin the component of that discussion. So that'll probably be when Omar Khan starts running him through, okay, Mike, these are the guys right now who are scheduled to be free agents.
Yep.
This is what's available in the draft.
This is how much money we got. These are the resources we have. I don't think these guys are fits. This guy's a bad personality for us. This one's perfect, but he's going to be a little more expensive than I think. And I can see the Giants being interested in him or whatever. Meanwhile, Omar's staff's been doing this year round.
Yeah, that's why
right.
This is when the coaching staff starts to catch back up with the scouting.
Right.
They start those kind of discussions.
Absolutely. They don't have time to be scouting free agents.
Yeah,
I mean, they might know
the season.
They might know Jameis Winston's up after the year, but they're not going to worry about it through that lens. They're just trying to beat him,
Yeah,
Right.
yeah. So you have those kind of discussions, and there's a lot of frank discussions that go on at this time of year. Tomlin said that he met yesterday with Art Rooney and Omar Khan, and you have those frank discussions because that's all part of the process. And
I'm sure there's some uncomfortable moments in that room. I mean, no one's happy with how it ended. All three of them, and that's the way it goes.
Yeah.
Right? But 31 teams aren't going to be happy with how their season ends.
Yeah, and
give or take.
Again, I was struck last night watching the game between the Vikings and
kind
the
of felt
Rams.
bad for the Vikes. It's just the way it goes, man. You lose 2 bad games in a row, and now everyone's taking. All your stock just goes.
Sam
right down
Darnold
the
cost
right.
himself millions with these last 2 games. All that stuff.
I mean, even O'Connell. I mean, they've only lost to 2 teams all year. They lost the Rams twice, and they lost the Lions twice. It's a pretty good year,
but you didn't advance.
And you didn't advance. O'Connell grew up under McVay, and maybe they didn't teach the Padawan quite every trick in the book, So I looked at it like, kind of feels a little like the Steelers, though. Like you were really playing well, you're out kicking your coverage, and then you go out on a losing streak and just all the air comes out and you end up in the same spot, Yeah. It's rough. I mean, it's a brutal league.
It really is. And, if you look at it this way, the final 8 teams in the league, the Steelers played 5 games against the final 8.
Okay.
They were 2-3 against those teams.
Were they? Yeah, that makes sense.
So it looks bad now, and I understand, the playoff loss is the playoff loss, the 5-game losing streak is a 5-game losing streak. I don't know that you're as far off from where you need to be at as some are suggesting.
The competing with these teams that are still out there.
Competing with them. Because you beat Washington in Washington.
Yeah.
You beat Baltimore. The 3 games at the end of the season weren't competitive. I get that.
Sure.
But they were also 3 games in 11 days, and you had injuries in those situations. It's just,
that's what the Steelers are doing. To your original point is figuring out how to compete. Okay, we got to take a different approach.
Yeah, now we got to look at this. And one of the things that Tomlin mentioned today was, hey, we got to look at. We had a bunch of soft tissue injuries this year. Like, what can we do differently regarding that?
Yep. I was getting a kick out of it because this time of year is also coaching change season.
Yeah.
Like these whiz kid, offensive coordinators, play designers, blah, 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 blah. They don't think about, why do we have a lot of soft tissue injuries this year? Like the head guy's got to deal with that. Is it nutrition or is it, whatever? I mean, like all the different things that the head guys
do we need to change our
with.
practice plan? Do we need to do this? Do we need to do that? Just all kinds of things that you need to. That's what these discussions are about at this time of year. This is where you start to analyze. You don't have time to do that during the regular season.
No. Like the Bengals, for example, I hope for their sake are going, well, maybe we should play more guys in the preseason, because every year we start out slow.
We start slow every year and then we got to chase it. Well,
right.
There's a reason.
Change what you're doing.
Yeah.
Right. 100%. So, no, that's exactly what's going on. And I would assume, Coach is getting a lot of input from Omar, his assistants, obviously the owner, that these guys are going to figure it all out. Yeah.
Yeah. And so, but the biggest question obviously is the quarterback situation. He was asked, you've had the failures in 3 of the last 4 seasons. You third time in the last 4 seasons that you go into the offseason with some uncertainty at quarterback. 2022, Ben was gone.
Yeah.
2023, you had Pickett in place. Okay. Or 2021, and then 2022 you had,
right. Okay.
And then 2023 you had Pickett in place, but this season you blew that up again. So 3 of the last 4 years you've had that instability at the quarterback position. The ironic thing is each year that you've had the instability at the quarterback position was coming off of a playoff year.
Right. You made the playoffs and then made quarterback changes. It's
Yeah.
usually not the way it goes.
Yeah.
100%.
The one year that you didn't make a quarterback change was the year that you didn't go to the playoffs.
I wonder, just off the top of my head, of the 14 teams that went to the playoffs, who will have a new quarterback next year?
That would be none, Cotton.
I'm saying. I mean, the Vikings maybe, but that wasn't by
but
plan.
that wasn't their plan.
Right. I mean, they made it with their
quarterback
right.
is on their roster.
Right. Like I think Purdy. Well, he's on. They didn't make playoffs, but I mean, I don't think there'll be any.
Yeah. So, that's all part of this, and I just looking at what's going to be available out there versus the draft and all. You don't know. The problem with everything is that you can't go into the draft without having a quarterback in place.
Oh, right.
At least a placeholder.
Right. I mean,
A
even if you're the
bridge,
first pick in
yeah.
the draft, you got to have Andy Dalton
Right.
or whatever. Right. Yeah.
Because there's no guarantee. If you're not one of the first two teams picking in the draft, you have no guarantee that you're going to get one of those top two quarterbacks.
Sure. I mean, even Atlanta's a bad example because they gave Cousins so much money, but they didn't know they were going to get Penix when they were in love with him, or did the Broncos know that they could get Nix? I mean, I'm talking about the fifth, sixth quarterbacks overall.
Right.
I mean, so no, I mean, the Steelers will definitely have one or two quarterbacks under contract on draft day.
Yeah, and you have to approach it that way. So now the decision becomes which one.
Mm-hmm.
And
is someone in the building? Is someone not in the building?
You could make a legitimate argument for either, and I couldn't fight you one way or the other. I like both guys.
Either, both, neither. I can make an argument on all the above. But I will say, outside the building, it's not the best year to be quarterback shopping. I mean, that's I'm sure we'll be breaking that down in coming weeks. But
that's
there's
the
not
reason
a lot of
why I
options.
look at it and say, you have to make a decision about one of these two guys, or both, to your point. You could try to bring back both, but I almost think that it has to be one of these two guys, and then you see where you're at after that.
I mean, Sam Darnold might become a free agent, but does that make you better?
Does he make you better than based on what you just saw in the last 2 weeks?
Right, and what it would cost, and who's available for trade out there? Not a lot. Definitely can't count on the draft for that's going to be my opening day starter. No chance of 21 this year, and I wouldn't want to be in that. That's not the path I would ever take with this class.
Yeah, right. I mean, you can be pleasantly surprised by it. I mean, Russell Wilson started as a rookie. It's the same thing.
Yeah, you can still draft one.
They went out
I'm not counting on one.
The Seahawks that year went out and signed Matt Flynn.
Yeah, to
a big contract.
Right, and Favre's backup. I mean,
and based off of what he had done at the end of that previous season when Favre was hurt, or not Favre, Rodgers.
I guess it would have been Rodgers. Yeah,
when Rodgers was hurt, and Russell
Wilson just went past him.
Wilson came in as a third-round pick and quickly went by him.
Mm-hmm. I mean, Dak Prescott did the same thing.
And
there's a couple
Tony
of these,
Romo.
Right. I mean, some of these not touted first-round picks can hit. Now, that's not. You don't put all your chips on that, or you would take them in the first round.
Or you would take them in the first round. That's
but
the whole.
People show up to camp and they're pleasant surprises. Like,
right.
Boy, I remember that off season or that preseason with Wilson. Pete Carroll's like, we just keep putting more and more on his plate, and he's handling it with no problems. Like way ahead of the game. Mentally.
So again, if you knew that was the guy, if you knew that about the guy, you'd take him in the first round. You wouldn't take the chance on not getting an opportunity to select him in the draft. And so, that's part of the process. Again, that's ongoing here and will be ongoing for the next 2+ months.
And probably even more so than a year ago because you had a new offensive coordinator. You didn't know Fields or Wilson like you do now. If you decide on either one, and I'm going in with a starter, boom, that's my decision. Final answer. Well, you might draft different now. Well, now I need to get bigger receivers or guys that come out of their breaks better or something more Russell Wilson friendly or Justin Fields friendly or you know what I mean? Like now you start feeding your quarterback the stuff he wants. You know, the type of, we didn't have a great receiving back for him or whatever it is, right.
Yeah, so again, that's part of what you're figuring out here. And I think you also at this time of the year maybe take a step back and look at the final 8 teams and say, okay, what do they have that we don't?
We didn't really last long enough to do this in Cleveland, but I do know some teams will self-scout in a way like that. Like these are the best teams in the league. What are the common threads?
Yeah.
A goofy one we put, not a goofy, but even last year we were like, all these teams have really, really good tight ends. Maybe that means nothing.
Yeah.
Maybe this happens to be the 4 best tight ends in the league or the final 4 teams, but heck of a coincidence.
Yeah.
Like
it's a heck of a coincidence.
Right.
And if you see it happen year after year, then you go, okay.
Get ahead of the curves.
This is where the league is going. And, obviously the one, if you look at the final 8 teams, where's the weak thread at quarterback? The weakest one's probably C.J. Stroud.
Probably. In the AFC, it definitely is.
Yeah.
Right. And we got what staff. I might put Stroud over Hurts, but I see what you're saying. Who else is left in them? We got Goff, Hurts, Daniels. Yeah. So he had the worst year.
Yeah, he had the worst year of the group, but he's still the defending Rookie of the Year, NFL Offensive Rookie of the Year.
He was the whiz kid a year ago. He was Jaden Daniels a year ago.
Yeah, so that's a pretty substantial thread. That's something that's coincidence.
That's an obvious one. And frankly, you're going to look at those 8 teams and be like, we're probably weaker at quarterback than all 8 of those teams. So now what do we do?
Now what do you do? How
do we do? Right.
But then you can expand that a little bit and go, okay, so the weakest of that group, and let's say it's Stroud or let's say it's Hurts. How did those teams overcome that?
So I think Hurts is a good example because defense, Barkley,
running again.
I mean, right. I mean, O-line, his cast is really, really good.
Yeah.
Like, I don't think Hurts takes the Cardinals to the postseason.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
The Eagles took Hurts to the postseason.
And nobody takes the Browns to the Super Bowl.
Nobody takes the Browns to the Super Bowl.
Anyways.
Long press conference today, though?
Yeah, I mean, it's the last time.
No, it's the end one, yeah.
It's the last time we'll hear from Mike Tomlin until the owners meet at the end of March. And, of course, we'll be there as well.
Yeah, plan on being there, too.
So, from here on out
that
now.
Sounds good on a chilly day like today, being at the owners meeting. Yeah.
We'll be in sunny Florida.
Yeah, Bloody Mary by the pool. Let's go.
But, yeah, from here on out, we'll get an Art Rooney press conference here in the next few weeks, and he'll give his assessment of everything. And then it's Omar Khan's.
Oh, it's his gig.
He gets the offseason.
Yeah,
you are the voice of the team in the offseason.
Yeah. Does he do many press conferences? I can't remember.
He'll do some. He'll do one before the
combine.
The
right?
combine. He'll also do one at the, at the owners meetings. So that's it's time to kind of close. You're not closing down shop, but you're kind of.
Oh, they condense
cocooning
things,
a little
right.
bit.
It won't be like I won't be at the facility for the next couple of weeks.
Yeah.
The place will be a lot quieter, that type of thing. And those guys are going to be starting looking at rooms, going, "Well, these are the 10 draftable running backs we like. These are the 10 free agent running backs we like. Najee's one of them. Who do we like best? And who can we get?
What's the draft look like?
Yeah, right.
Because you're going to get a running back at some point in the draft.
Mm-hmm.
Is he a starting caliber running back, or is he a complimentary back?
Yeah.
How does this draft?
What are we
align
willing
with
to
that?
spend?
Yeah.
If the right guy falls in round 1, do we take him, or is that a day 3 thing? You got to balance your needs, and there's plenty of them right now.
Absolutely.
Not as many as some teams, but fewer than others.
Yeah.
Or more than others, though.
And I think that gets lost in the wash here, Matt, a little bit. Everybody focuses on the 5-game losing streak, and I understand that.
Sure,
it's recency bias. It's what happened to end your season,
and it was harsh. Right.
But this team did do a lot of good stuff to get to 10-3.
Mm-hmm. They had a playoff spot locked up when that happened.
Yeah,
right.
They had a playoff spot in hand. So now, how do you take that next step to compete against the Kansas Cities and the Buffaloes and the Baltimores on a consistent basis?
Mm-hmm. And especially knowing you're probably going to be weaker at quarterback. I mean, that to me is – I just keep going back to that more and more. Boy, these couple quarterbacks are so strong, and there's the haves and have-nots in the quarterback world. Yeah, there's a whole lot of good ones. And the Steelers will have a good one, but you're not going to have that guy. So what can I do to beat that guy? Yeah. And then the next one, the week after.
Might even be better.
Right.
Unless you get the number 1 seed or something like that.
Sure.
That would be a one way, I know people look at these playoff losses as one group. That to me is not realistic. This 2024 Steelers and the 2017 Steelers, there are very few commonalities there in terms of what you're putting on the field.
Yeah.
But I look at these last 3 playoff trips in 3 of the last 4 seasons, and you've played Patrick Mahomes, you played Josh Allen, and you played Lamar Jackson, and you did it all in their building.
All in their building, right.
That's not the good way to do it.
That's the hardest path possible.
Yeah.
Choose your own adventure. You choose the worst adventure possible. Like I said,
if you're going to play one of those guys, I'd much rather do it at home.
I mean, I know a lot of people, including myself, had higher hopes for the Miami Dolphins this year than in previous seasons. But I looked at them like Tua's not as good as those guys either.
Yeah.
But if they can get home field advantage, if they can, and you got to go to Miami and they're well rested and speed, I mean, okay, they're trying a different approach. You can see how that might work. If we're talking about them being fresh this week and, man, Baltimore's all banged up and they got to go to Miami. Okay, well, that's a different kind of test.
It levels the playing field.
Yeah.
Against those great quarterbacks. Let's get to a break. He is the Matt Williamson. I am Dale Lolley. You're listening to The Drive here on the Steelers Audio Network. We're going to do an oldie but a goodie here in the next segment, Matt.
Ooh, the tease.
Matt's going to put on his GM hat.
Okay, let's do it.
We're going to pour through the Steelers' pending free agents here.
I like it. Okay.
Talk to them, give them their exit interview, and ask them. We'll come up with an idea whether we want to keep them, let them go.
Okay.
Right after this. And we are back. I'm Dale Lolley. He is the Matt Williamson. And Matt, one of your favorite pastimes here, and one that's always seems to be a favorite of the listeners, is we'll take a look here at the.
This has become an annual event for us now. Huh?
Absolutely.
Okay, I didn't know we were doing it today. I'm psyched.
I like to throw stuff at you without
I know.
telling
I don't
you.
wanna
That way
know.
I get the honest Matt.
Yeah, I don't want to know. Yeah, I'm in.
So we're
We
going
should
to
probably lay this out. We got a lot of new listeners.
We're going to have some exit interviews here with some veteran players who are now pending free agents. And Matt is going to put his GM hat on here and going to talk to each of these players and say, hey, we want you back. We like maybe to stay in contact with us, or maybe you should get on with your life's work somewhere else.
Exactly.
Yeah. So first up on the list here, and I'm just looking at Spot Track.
Okay.
So they just have them listed here. In terms of, it looks like they have them listed in terms of what they made last year.
That's usually how the way they list it, right? Which doesn't mean that's their importance.
That's not the priority, but first guy up is Mike Williams.
Interesting one. And he's not an easy one for me. You know, like, Mike, we traded for you. We saw some good things. Maybe it's on us. We should have got you on the field more. Maybe there's more to that story that Matt doesn't know, but GM does, you know, of why you weren't out there a lot. We do plan on upgrading our receiver room, and we are in the market for a true starter opposite your buddy George. But you could be in the mix. You know, I mean, if it depending what the it depends if I'm actually talking to him or if we're talking behind the scenes, obviously. But like, if the market is hot for you, you should probably jump on it.
Yeah.
But we know that your stock hasn't increased over the last year.
The $10 million that you got last year is probably not realistic.
You know you're not getting that.
Yeah.
Your agent's already told you that. And if you want to do a 1-year prove-it deal, we'd love to have you in camp. We like some of your attributes. So please keep us in the mix. But we're not offering you a contract right this second.
Yeah, I agree.
Yeah.
Next guy up is James Daniels. People might have forgotten he was even on the team because he got hurt so early in the year. But
yeah. James, we love you. You know, you've done good work here. You were part of the plan this year, of course. You're still young. You're going to make a lot of money in the free agent market. Probably not from us. You know, we've got our guards, and best of luck. You know, I mean, I
hope the rehab went well.
And, all that good stuff. I mean, to no fault of your own, but we kind of drafted with this in mind that we probably weren't going to dump it into you, and that's okay. You know, right? You're going to sign a third contract and be very happy about it. Right?
Yeah. Dante Jackson is up. He made $6 million last year. He's 29 years old. Welcome in, Dante.
Yeah, and I'm not going to be real nice to you, Dante. I think we can do better, to be honest with you. We liked what you brought to the table. We made a trade for you. That was, you weren't a throw-in. We were interested in what you did. But we're looking for a different style of corner. We want a guy with a little more size, more man, physical at the line of scrimmage, more of a tackler. And we don't think that's you. You know, I mean, I think you're probably going to be playing somewhere else next year.
Yeah. Nate Herbig is up here next. I'm going to skip over the quarterbacks till the end.
Yeah, I don't
we'll
even
have our
know.
Meetings with them last.
I'd say that might even be next week. I'm not sure what we're talking about. Herbig's an easy one for me in that, of course, your brother's here. We like you. You like us, I think, and that's fine. We now have our starters on the interior, but we look at you as a real high-end number 4 interior player.
You can play all three spots. That's
spots.
Very valuable.
We love you in the locker room. Frankly, Nate, I don't know that people are going to be banging on your door after your injury. And, you know, I mean, this is not the best time for you to be maximizing your earnings. We can offer you a real similar deal, or maybe even a 2-year, $7 million. I think he made like 4. Does that sound about right?
His base was 4, yeah.
Yeah, something in that neighborhood, and a year or 2. But we would definitely like you to be in the mix. And unfortunately, I mean, well, fortunately for him, there's probably a good chance you end up playing. A chance of all three
point,
of interior
maybe
guys.
You might end up playing games at all three spots by the time the season's over.
You're going to be a key component for us, but we don't look at you as one of our top three on the inside.
Yeah. Okay.
Please come back. We like you.
Landon Roberts.
Similar. I think that's another guy. We think this has been a good fit. We love your style of play. You are smart, nasty, AFC North football player. We would offer you a very similar deal. Maybe a 2-year at most, but certainly one. He made around 4, I think, too.
He was 3.5, yeah.
Yeah. Okay, if you're going to hold out for 4, we can probably make that work. It's been a successple mission.
You're going to be 31.
Yeah, and you're going to split time with the guys that are here now, as you did. You're not going to be a full-time player.
Which probably benefits you.
He probably says thanks.
Yeah,
right.
It probably benefits you. Najee Harris.
Yeah. Sorry, Naj, but we got to move on. You came in the league a little older. You've been a really good player for us. I really like your reliability, durability, toughness, relentlessness with the football in your hands. But it's a nasty business we got going here. And, boy, there's a lot of running backs in the draft that are cheaper than you. A lot of them are faster than you. Some of them are better zone fit schemes than you. And I think you're going to make a decent buck in the offseason. My recommendation is go to teams with that Ramondre Stevenson contract in hand, and you might get it, but not from us.
Yeah. And I think the fit, the overall fit is the big thing, too.
Mm-hmm.
There's going to be a team out there that's looking for a power back.
Oh, yeah.
To maybe even as a complement to the speed back that they have.
Mm-hmm.
But
maybe they put him next to Tyrone Tracy.
Yeah.
Somebody like that. Right, yeah.
We need something a little bit more. We want more of an all-around back.
Mm-hmm.
And
we're looking for the next version of you coming out of Bama.
DeMonte KZ.
KZ, we've had a nice run. I'm not implying that it's over, but we're going to be looking elsewhere for a while.
You're getting a little up in age. You're going to be 32.
Getting up in age. You're not, frankly, you're a replaceable player. Your skill set isn't something that's remarkably hard to find. We drafted Watts last year, who we have some hope for as well. We might look for a safety that's a little more slot-oriented. But
we might be looking for a younger version of you because you did those things early in your career.
Yep, but there's a chance come month before camp, we'll give you a veteran minimum deal if you're still out there and bring you in and see if you can make the team.
Yeah.
And frankly, if an injury would happen in camp and you're still out there, you'd be our first call.
Van Jefferson.
Similar one. Replaceable. Not special enough. Please test the market. I think someone will be interested. I mean, you have a body of work in this league, but we need to get more dynamic at this position. Again, if we get deep into the process and your price drops, not that you're super expensive.
Well, I mean, he was on a 1 year. He was a veteran minimum this year.
Yeah. I'm guessing somebody will give him a little more than that, though. I mean,
a little signing bonus,
I would assume he goes as a free agent and asks for more than league minimum. I don't know if he'll get it. But we have a league minimum deal here for you. Maybe, depending, probably after the draft.
Michael Pruitt.
It's another similar one in that you do good things, but we view you as a number 3 tight end. You have some special teams capabilities, but you're not young at this stage of the game.
He's going to be 33.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So maybe a 1-year deal late in the process, but we kind of want more dynamic pass catchers.
Yeah. Cam Sutton.
You got to go. Yeah. We took a chance on you. You're not the player you used to be. There is off the field stuff that we recognize, but frankly, your play wasn't good enough, and you might want to consider moving to safety. But we're not in the process of making that change for you.
Yeah. Tyler Matakevich.
Might be a league minimum deal here. Maybe. How old's he?
He's 32.
Yeah, so
just turned 32.
He's older than I thought. I was going to say he's 30, but that seemed young. We value core special teamers here. I know you had some injury stuff, but you still are good at what you do. But we got a lot bigger fish to fry right now than another core special teamer. And please keep us in mind. You know, if you're going to sign a deal with the Commanders or whatever, give us a buzz. But we're probably good on core special teamers.
Yeah. Dan Moore.
Best of luck to you. You know, you've been a pleasant draft pick that gave us a lot of snaps, but we've drafted 2 players of your position really high, and we can't be more excited about getting them on the field. You're going to make a good buck somewhere. There's a lot of teams out there that can use a left tackle that is logged your
He played
snaps.
this season. His contract average, this was his 4-year average, was $1.044 million.
Yeah, you could probably
Like
add a zero to that.
You got more than what you paid for out of Dan Moore.
But that doesn't mean it's good enough to
Right.
beat Baltimore and Cincinnati and the Browns and et cetera, et cetera. So we're really putting a high emphasis on we went to best offensive line in the league, and you should have a long, productive career and retire a multimillionaire, but I don't think it's going to be with the Steelers next year.
Isaiah Loudermilk.
Go test the market, Isaiah. Kind of thought you'd be a little further along than this. If there's if you put that worm on the hook and no one's biting, we could bring you to camp on a 1-year deal, but it's going to be league minimum. And we do like the familiarity, and you know our defense, but there's a good chance we add somebody of bigger ilk than you in that room. Yeah.
Scotty Miller.
There's a league minimum deal here for you. Take it or leave it. You know what I mean? Maybe you'll do better. You know, I can't promise
We're not guaranteeing you a spot.
No. Yeah. I'd love a lot of stuff you do. We may end up adding 2 receivers, and you're going to have an uphill climb to make the team. We might end up adding 1. I don't know. But we are going to make changes at that room and come to camp, and chips fall where they may. And you might take it.
That gets us through all the UFAs.
Okay. Non-quarterbacks.
Brings us to Jaylen Warren, who's a restricted free agent. I keep seeing this out there that the Steelers
they're going to lose both.
They're going to lose both these guys. I can't remember the last time a team signed somebody else's restricted free agent.
It's pretty rare.
If you tender them, and I would assume
it depends where you tender them.
Yeah, I mean you're not
going
to
get a second-round tender.
Yeah, you're going to put a second-round tender on Jaylen.
Yeah,
and he's going to be back. And if he's not back, if somebody says, "Hey, we got to go sign Jaylen Warren," and they want to give you a second-round pick for him, great.
Then you draft another running back in the second round. Right, exactly. And I like him a lot. Jaylen, I think you've been one of our best offensive players. Huge success story. You will get a bump in pay with a second-round tender. I think he goes up to like $1 billion. Or
he made
$857
like this year.
Okay. Maybe in camp we can talk about adding a year or 2, maybe. I mean, there's not a ton of wear and tear on your body, but we are definitely going into the draft looking for a sidekick for you. Not that you have to tell the players these things. You know, I mean, I'm telling the audience this stuff. The players don't need to know anything. You know, they just here's a contract signed or not. Get out of here.
Treat them like mushrooms.
Right. They don't need to know any of this stuff. But we don't want to lose you. So we're going to show it by putting a second-round tender on it, which is says a lot.
Going to give you a bump to about $3+ million a year.
Yeah, right.
For next year.
I mean, money
you're getting a significant raise.
Yeah, we're not just letting someone poach you off the roster for nothing.
And as things stand now, you're our starting running back.
Right. Yeah. And you might be on opening day, and you might be every day this year. You know, who knows? We like you a lot.
They've got 2 exclusive rights free agents, and I would assume both of these guys wind up being back. One is Ryan McCullum.
Oh, I'd like to bring him back.
Yeah.
Absolutely. I think that's a successful experiment so far. Better version of like Hassenauer. Yeah. I mean,
got more size.
Yeah.
Might be able to play some guard for you in a pinch.
Yes, I don't know if he's only a center, but that's definitely his best spot. Is there room for him and Herbig? I don't know, but I don't care. You know, we'll just figure it out.
I'm going to have 10 offensive linemen on my roster. And
there's practice squad spots, and, injuries happen. And, you might be Frazier's backup for the next 2 or 3 years, but 1-year deal.
Yeah. And then the other one is Jeremiah Moon.
Have to bring Danny in.
Well,
how important is he to you, Danny?
I mean, he actually, played a after he was activated, played a lot of snaps on special teams.
Near the top of the team.
Near the top. Like, people were questioning why he was active for the playoff game and Preston Smith was not.
I was one of them. Not that Moon being active surprised me. It's just the Smith being inactive.
But it came down to special teams.
Yeah.
I mean, you're not going to ask 32-year-old Preston Smith to go out and play special teams.
No, yeah, he doesn't do it.
He doesn't do it. Moon was a core special teams guy.
We should probably chatt with Preston Smith too.
Well,
I mean, he's not a free agent.
We're gonna,
right.
yeah.
Well, I guess we'll get down that road.
We'll get down that road when we get closer to that.
But Moon would like to bring you back on a league minimum deal.
We're going to offer you. We're going to give the exclusive rights offer.
Yeah, we'll definitely pick that up. And
you got to
come to camp.
Continue
I'd like to work
show
on your defensive stuff. Danny loves you. And I do think that's true. I think that he's a plus special teamer. He's not just the best you got at the time.
Right.
Cool. There's value there. Can't promise you a roster spot, but maybe.
Yeah.
If not, practice squad seems great.
You're going to be somewhere in that 45 to 53 range, or 45 to 60 range, and you got to show us that
prove to us that you're not
roster.
cuttable. Yeah. You're too valuable to cut. Okay, I'll take that challenge. Sign me up.
So that's the Steelers' list of free agents except for the 3 quarterbacks.
It's not crazy.
I mean,
if they all walked out the door, the world would keep turning.
Yeah.
I mean, they've set that up pretty well.
Yeah.
Those guys, right.
Obviously there's some guys there that you got to replace. And, of course, I'm looking here on Spot Track, and the guys who have market value next to their name are the guys who they think will get the biggest contracts. So the market value on a guy like Mike Williams coming off of his season is $4.5 million a year.
He has a track record. I don't know that I would give him that if I'm the Steelers, but it's not the worst thing I ever heard.
A 1-year deal at 4.5? I mean, he signed for 10 last year.
Mm-hmm. I thought it'd be a little cheaper, but receivers don't grow. Receivers make
that's not terrible.
Money. Yeah.
I mean, it's just not.
He'd have to be in my top 3, though.
Yeah.
Because he doesn't play special teams.
Right.
Is he better than Austin? Is he better than Roman Wilson? He's not going to be better than Pickens and the guy that I add to be named later.
The market value on Justin Fields, the comparable players for them.
It's like 14.
8.9. The players
Does he make like 10 now?
No, it's 6. I think it's
okay.
Or 4. I'm sorry. Yeah, it's like somewhere in 6. But the players that they compare him to, guys who signed 1-year deals this year: Jameis Winston, Jimmy Garoppolo, Jacoby Brissett, Sam Darnold.
They're all older though.
No, Darnold's not.
Darnold wasn't.
Actually, neither is Jameis Winston's 26.
No, he's not.
That's what I'm saying. That's what it shows here.
He's been in the league like 10 years.
I'm just telling you.
He's not 26.
There's
something.
That's what they're listening to. The market value on Najee Harris, $9.2 million.
Okay. Yeah, I think that's
3 years, $27.5 million.
And he'll get it or close to it. I mean, a lot of maybe he'll be disappointed.
It'll be tough this year with the
running back draft class, right?
As deep as it is.
It is.
The market value on Russell Wilson.
30?
$38.7 million. They're saying 2 years, $77.4, comparing it to Kirk Cousins, Geno Smith, Aaron Rodgers, Matthew Stafford.
I think the transition tag is only like 35, which I've heard thrown out there as an option. It's not something I know a ton about.
Yeah.
But it's a different version of like a franchise tag.
Right. That
you can match. Okay. I mean, that's about the numbers we thought.
Yeah.
And maybe he takes less, because he's happy. But I don't know of the 31 other teams who would offer him that deal if he's on the open market. Because some of the teams are bad and not looking for an older guy. Like, Giants, Raiders, Titans. Would they be in the market for him? I don't know who would. We
keep hearing the Titans, for example, linked. This is before they got the number 1 overall pick. Well, they're going to sign Aaron Rodgers.
Mm-hmm.
Like, would you rather have Aaron Rodgers or would you rather have Russell Wilson?
I don't know. I mean, personalities are very different.
I think I'd rather have Russell Wilson.
I think so. Yeah.
Well, let's talk more about that when we come back.
Okay.
What's
Dan Moore's market value?
They don't have one listed.
Oh, really? Okay.
Which is surprising because he's going to get.
I mean, he'll get 8 to 12. He'll get more than Chooks did.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean,
no, he's a left tackle.
Right.
Who I think never misses time.
Chooks made like 6, 7, 8, something like that.
Something like that. Yeah.
But Moore's gonna make more than that. He'll probably make double digits.
Somebody's going to bite at that.
Mm-hmm.
This isn't a particularly great offensive tackle draft either.
No.
Now, you had a bunch of teams that drafted guys last year.
Sure.
But
there's always a shortage.
No, without
He'll be
a doubt.
one of the 32 starting left tackles.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And absolutely.
And that costs money.
Well, let's talk more about that quarterback position when we come back. He is Matt Williamson. I am Dale Lolley. You're listening to The Drive here on the Steelers Audio Network. And we are back. I'm Dale Lolley. He is the Matt Williamson. And Matt, we were talking in the previous segment there about, who might be interested in the Steelers quarterbacks.
Yeah.
On the open market. Who might you be, if you let it get to that point.
Where they're actually true free agents.
Yeah.
Who's calling?
Who's calling them? And the teams that really need quarterbacks going into this offseason. Cleveland.
Yeah. Cleveland's so weird, though. Like, I don't know how much money they have or what this Watson stuff shakes out.
It may, this latest injury may get them out of part of that contract.
I know, which would break my heart, kind of.
Well, they've had to eat it now for a few years.
Mm-hmm.
But they're definitely in the market for a quarterback.
Yes.
And it's not going to be Jameis Winston.
I don't think so.
No. The Raiders.
Yes, for sure.
The Jets.
Yes.
The Giants.
Mm-hmm.
The Titans.
Yeah.
The Saints.
Probably. I don't think they would go the Winston route or like the Rodgers-Wilson route, though. I mean, they'd have to trade Carr first or go get a young guy.
Yeah.
I bet we could come up with some other names, too.
Probably.
Like Seattle would draft one or, teams like that.
These are just the guys that the teams that maybe need a veteran guy because they don't have the guy on their roster. Now, Tennessee's situation changed dramatically in the last month of the season when they went to having the number 1 overall pick. Before they were 8th or so, and you're like, okay, you're not going to have the opportunity.
You at least have to move up or you don't have the power.
Yeah.
Right. I think more teams will be interested in Fields. If both were on the open market, I think Fields would get more calls than Wilson. Age and expense is why, of course.
Yeah.
And athleticism. You've thrown out Fields to Indianapolis makes so much sense to me. And I bet we could come up with 5 more, along those lines of young guy that's struggling. Let's add another one to the mix. And one of the 2 hits, it's a home run.
Yeah.
I was a little shocked by Spot Track's guess on his contract.
Yeah, I think that's
I
low.
bet that's low.
I think it's low.
Yeah.
I think he gets at least 10 and maybe 15.
If you were, even take Russ out of the equation, if your final decision as the Steelers is, let's roll with Fields, what's the numbers look like? I wouldn't want a 1-year deal.
No.
And I'd probably want incentives in there. 2 for 25, 2 for 22.
I might even go 3.
Yeah. It's double digits average.
3 at, let's say 36.
Mm-hmm.
That's $12 million a year with incentives. Yeah. If you start this many games,
or if we win the Super Bowl, or if you win, things like that.
And then if stuff like that happens, we'll talk. We'll talk some more.
I'm not sure I would be thrilled to do a 3 if I'm him. If I know I really don't have competition on day 1, and I get 2 years. I mean, he may be the bargain of the century 2 years from now at 12.
Could be.
But he could also make a fuss. I'm just curious what his numbers would look like. Wilson's a tough one for me, though. Not for the Steelers necessarily. We'll have those conversations. Just, I don't know if he's truly on the market. How many calls does he get? I mean, where's the fit? And same with Rodgers, to be honest. It's their stage of their career. Is anyone going to say, that's our starter, 2-year deal, $70 million?
Well, here's the thing. So looking at the list of quarterbacks who are going to be available.
Mm-hmm. And I think Darnold's now going to stay on that list.
Sam Darnold.
He's going to be the most expensive.
Zach Wilson.
No money to call him.
Trey Lance.
Mm-hmm.
Jacoby Brissett.
He'll end up somewhere in the exact same capacity that he's been.
Marcus Mariota.
Yeah, maybe.
Drew Lock.
And no one's inspiring a lot of excitement, right?
Andy Dalton.
Okay.
Jared Stidham. Joe Flacco.
I think all these guys will be NFL players.
Yeah. Jameis Winston.
Okay.
Mac Jones. Jimmy Garoppolo. Case Keenum. Mason Rudolph. Easton Stick. Taylor Heineke, Carson Wentz, Cooper Rush, Josh Dobbs, Brandon Allen, Nick Mullins, Kyle Trask, Josh Johnson, C.J. Beathard.
Probably gone deep enough.
Teddy Bridgewater.
Yeah.
Jeff Driscoll, Tyler Huntley, Brett Ripien, Tim Boyle, Will Greer, Daniel Jones, Shane Buechele, Ian Book, Bailey Zappi, Desmond Ritter, Felipe Franks. He's not even a tight end. He's a tight end now.
Tight end now, yeah.
Sam Ellinger, Tommy DeVito, and Jason Bean.
And the only cap casualty that I think will happen is Cousins.
Yeah. That's the
or
group.
Rodgers. Is Rodgers.
Rodgers will be. But
is
he may
under
just
contract. He's not a free agent?
No.
Okay.
But I think he may end up just retiring.
Yeah, who knows if he even plays football next year.
Yeah.
So other than Darnold, and I'd say Wilson, are there any other opening day starters on that list? Or and don't give me Brissett until Shedeur Sanders is ready.
Yeah.
Is anyone looking at them
Mac
like
Jones until
right? I also think Daniel Jones is on that list now.
He is. Yeah.
Did you? Okay.
I read him.
Okay, because I think it'll end up being like McCarthy and Jones in Minnesota, probably.
Probably.
Yeah. But there's not much there that excites me from a Steeler perspective.
There's nothing there that excites me.
Right.
In terms of the guys, for the outside guys.
The outside guys.
None of them.
I think you could get Carr cheap. That
for a
doesn't
reason.
really excite me.
Yeah.
Right. I would rather roll with Wilson than give up a draft pick for Carr.
Yeah.
Now, if you could pull off a Dak or something crazy, it's a different story, but that's far-fetched, I don't know who else is available.
Yeah.
I mean, other than draft.
Does Brock Purdy become available? 49ers say, yeah, we can't. We love Sam Darnold when he was here, and we love him so much. We're gonna make him our quarterback, and we're gonna let Purdy go.
I would understand it, but I wouldn't be the one calling him.
No.
Somebody might.
I think he's a systems quarterback.
Yeah, he's fine, but that doesn't help me beat the Ravens.
No.
No, I mean, I think there's a decent chance that Fields and Wilson are back.
I keep landing on that.
Yeah. Could you get them for 40 between the two of them?
Yeah.
I think you
I
could.
think so.
Yeah. Maybe they both want multi-year deals if you do that?
Potentially, but again, the way you could
structure that you could
the way
them,
these deals are built nowadays, like you can
always
structure that thing without clauses, and we can get out of this in 2 years or 1 year with.
I mean, Wilson's deal is not going to be like Denver's deal.
No,
where you just all this dead money if you move on from him or if he falls off a cliff.
No,
but those are your options, folks.
Yeah,
I mean, it's not real awe-inspiring.
It isn't.
No, and there'll be an opportunity that we have not yet shown itself.
The only guy on this list who I am interested in, and I know I've said things about him in the past, largely because he never played in college, and then he didn't play in the pros.
Lance.
But Trey Lance.
Especially if, like, Wilson left, and you get in Fields is your one at 14 per or whatever.
Yeah.
Hey, Trey, you want to
come in and be our backup
and run the exact same system?
Yeah.
You guys are going to run a lot, and you might get hurt.
Yeah.
I mean, right. I mean, it's the nature of your position,
the way
you play it, right?
But if you look at the last,
and I might
game
even
of the
draft
season,
a third-round running athletic quarterback.
The Cowboys played him in the last game of the season, and he didn't look bad.
No, right.
But he just hasn't thrown a lot of passes from going all the way back to college. I think in the last 5 years, the guy has thrown less than 500 passes in his career. It's nuts
because of injuries and COVID and all kinds of weird stuff. Right. Yeah, he could be a camp. I'm not going to give him a ton.
Right. Maybe somebody will, though.
I don't know. I mean,
it goes back to what your assessment was on him coming out of the draft.
Boy, that was a while ago. I mean, it's kind of like Fields. The Cowboys' compensation to get him wasn't much. Right, and nor was it with the Steelers with Fields. You know, is either one of those guys changed?
He was once a top 3 pick in the draft.
Yeah, exactly. So was Wilson, Zach.
Yeah.
And I think we both want nothing to do with him.
Nothing.
I just think that he doesn't have a chance.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'd much rather – I'd give Lance the same money as him and take my chances.
Right.
Fields, Lance, and a rookie?
I don't love it.
I mean, right. It's not Mahomes.
No. It's not
right.
Lamar.
Yeah, exactly.
Not Josh Allen.
No, but there's not. Those guys don't grow on trees.
Yeah.
That's what we're looking at, folks.
Yeah.
Right.
You could build a hell of a roster around them, though.
That's the thing. I mean,
Yeah.
you got other. That's not the only resources you're going to spend this offseason,
right?
In terms of caps and picks.
So that's where you're at.
That's where you're at.
Let's get to a break. That's going to do it for hour number 1 of the drive here on the Steelers Audio Network. Matt and I will be back with hour number 2 right after this. And we are back. I'm Dale Lolley. He is the Matt Williamson, and this is the drive on the Steelers Audio Network. And Matt, we did a 4-round mock draft yesterday.
Yeah, it was kind of fun.
And some of the feedback I got on YouTube.
Mm-hmm. I had some tweets about it too.
Yeah. Some people loved it. Some people hated it. How can you talk draft already? The thing is, you mentioned it in the opening segment. Senior Bowl's in 2 weeks. Right.
We're going to be there.
We're going to be there.
I want to know what I'm looking at.
And when we're talking, part of the lead in for the mock draft is us talking about, okay, this is our offseason plan.
Mm-hmm.
So we're going to assume going into this mock draft that we signed a receiver and did some things in free agency.
This is the Dale and Matt plan, right?
It's just talking through the process,
right?
Because you have to talk through the process.
What's believable, like I've even thrown out the name like Chris Godwin. I don't know if that's believable or not. I mean, there seems a lot of money they're going to be after Chris Godwin, or Devontae Adams, let alone T. Higgins. But
Devontae Adams was on Kay Adams' show today and said that she asked him point blank, would you like to play for Mike Tomlin? He said 100%.
I mean, that's a great option to me because he's not in a free agent, but he's going to get cut.
He's going to get cut. He's making like $37 million.
Basically a 1-year deal, rental. That would be the ideal guy. And then I'm probably done there. Then the conversation with Mike Williams gets a lot different. Like, probably don't have a spot for you.
Mike,
right.
You were just on a team. You got kicked off your last team because of this guy, and now we're gonna.
Yeah, right, exactly.
You're not Devontae Adams.
You're not Devontae Adams. But yeah, I mean, if you could do something like that, that would be wonderful. Right.
So that's why we mock drafted yesterday, and you want to start learning the names. You want to start looking at these things. You can't.
You also need to know the pockets of where. Boy, I'd love a corner in round 1, but man, there's a really nice group of them going around round 3 too. I'd be just as happy with, but as is always the case, you can't get that tackle anywhere but round 1. I'm not saying the Steelers are even the tackle market. It's just how we did it last year. If you're going to get a tackle, you better do it early,
right?
That type of thing, right?
Yeah. So you
need it. It's an extra. It's like going to the gym and exercising. Yeah, right.
It's an exercise. You're okay.
You're practicing. Right.
If this happens, then what?
Exactly.
Then what do you do?
Right. Boy, every time we make this pick in the first 2 rounds, we never end up with a corner.
Right.
That stinks.
It just kind of takes you through the process and go, boy, I like this guy here, but if we take that guy there, then we miss out on this later in the draft. But boy, there was another guy at that same position that I like almost as much. He was there. This guy wasn't. There were nobody at that position.
As you mentioned, you and I aren't going into Ole Miss, writing up all their seniors and know all the guys either. I mean, I'm trying to learn the day 2, let alone the day 3 guys at this point.
Yeah. So, I mean, that's one of the reasons why we do these things, folks. It's not just wasting time or anything like that.
But I also got a lot of tweets saying, "Oh, first mock draft of the year, let's go, baby!" Yeah, everyone's psyched up about it,
So I'm going to read through it. We're going to do a little first-round mock. We're not going to do the mock draft. I want to take a look here at some of these guys that have been doing mock drafts.
Mm-hmm. You'll see more and more of them. Draft orders set for the non-playoff teams and the eliminated teams, and right.
So Ryan Wilson's a guy who joins us on occasion at the NFL Scouting Combine. Ryan's a Carnegie Mellon graduate and does mock drafts for CBS Sports.
Say still CBS, right?
Yeah, he's their primary draft guy.
Mm-hmm.
So he's got Cam Ward going at number 1 to Tennessee.
I think that'll be close to consensus, but who knows?
Yeah, somebody could just offer them a bundle of money or a bundle of draft picks, and
maybe the Raiders, maybe the Giants, a team like that.
For example, the Dallas Cowboys are talking to Deion Sanders about becoming their head coach. The Dallas Cowboys are drafting 12th.
Yep.
The Dallas Cowboys drafting 12th are not going to get a shot at Shedeur Sanders, who I would think if Deion were to become...
But why would they want a quarterback, Dale? They have Dak Prescott.
If Deion becomes the head coach of the Dallas Cowboys, and I think it's a long shot. I think he's
do too, but I think Jerry will do whatever he wants.
Yeah. They're going to want to have Shedeur Sanders on the roster.
I would think.
I think.
Right. This isn't college where you can dictate that, but I would think it comes up.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And so, therefore, I think they move sun and moon and water and everything else to get up to the number 1 spot and get Shedeur Sanders at the number 1 spot. Or they they think he's going number 2. They're going to trade up with Cleveland.
Mm-hmm.
But to do that, you're going to have to give up multiple picks. And are the Titans the Browns obviously would say, yeah, we'll take Dak Prescott off your hands as part of the deal.
I assume they can afford
but
him. Right,
they can't afford him.
Yeah, I would think they can't. Right.
Yeah, because his base salary next year is like $40 million.
So your bright idea, of course, was we'll send you our first-round pick, three-way type of deal.
A three-way deal.
Type of deal, right?
Package
Maybe
them up.
sweeten it up or whatever. Dak comes to Pittsburgh. They can handle the money without problem.
The Titans would love to have, hey, we're going to have pick number 12 and 21.
And whatever else it costs.
And whatever,
they can work,
some sweeteners.
Right.
And Dallas gets
their guy.
They get the number 1 overall pick.
It's Sonny and Daddy Sanders, yeah.
Just an idea.
It is.
Yeah.
But, you got to this is the kind of things that we're talking about, though.
Yeah.
Is that possible? No, there's no chance.
Yeah.
Or, whatever.
Shedeur Sanders goes at 2 to the Browns.
Okay.
Now,
do you think they'll take 1 at 2?
I do.
I do, too.
Yeah, especially now with the news that Watson may not even play next year.
Mm-hmm. I don't think he'll ever play football again.
Yeah. Travis Hunter goes 3 to the Giants.
Which I would think they're happy with if you get the best player in the draft, but who's your quarterback?
Right. You still don't have a quarterback, which may be, again, why you'd be in the market for a veteran guy.
Mm-hmm.
If you think, well, we just got this great wide receiver. Now we're adding another guy who can play wide receiver and cornerback, best player in the draft. We might be able to win.
Maybe.
Now.
Maybe, yeah.
For Kelvin Banks Jr., the offensive tackle from Texas, goes to New England.
Would make sense. It's going to be the best offensive lineman you can get.
Yeah. Mason Graham, the defensive lineman from Michigan, goes at 5 to Jacksonville.
That would add up to. They got the edge guys already.
The Raiders take Will Johnson, the cornerback out of Michigan, at 6.
We got some feedback, too.
Yeah.
Johnson's not going to be there at 21. He probably won't, but we took him, right?
We took him. He was there.
Of the year,
Yeah,
right?
it wasn't our
Yeah.
We didn't have the
Maybe we would have taken the next corner if he wasn't, or another corner would have fallen if he went somewhere.
Somebody would have fallen.
Right.
Teteria McMillan goes to the Jets at 7.
Think they'd go receiver? Especially if Wilson wants out, yes. You got to replace Adams.
You got to replace Adams. Yeah.
That's not a bad move.
At 8, Abdul Carter goes to the Carolina Panthers.
I bet he goes earlier than that.
I think so, too.
Yeah, I don't think edge rushers with his bend and stuff are going to last.
Yeah. At 9, the Saints take Michael Williams, the linebacker or edge rusher out of Georgia.
Okay. They need everything.
At 10, Will Campbell, the offensive lineman from LSU, goes to the Bears.
Yeah. I assume they'd make him a guard.
Yeah, there's a lot of people projecting him as a guard.
Him and Banks aren't prototypical Jonathan Ogden first tackle type guys.
It's not that deep of it's not that good of an offensive tackle draft.
No, there's no Joe Alt,
Yeah. 11, Jalen Walker, the edge rusher out of Georgia, goes to the San Francisco 49ers.
They don't have the hockey waves of D linemen that they usually do.
Yeah. At 12, Jihad Campbell, the linebacker from Alabama, goes to the Dallas Cowboys.
Could certainly be defense. Everyone in the world's going to mock Gene T there, but I don't think they'll go running back.
Yeah, their problem is Overton, who was having a good year for them.
Bad injury.
Had a bad injury.
Yeah.
May not play at all next year.
They could go receiver. They could go line.
Yeah.
I don't think Zach Martin will be back.
13, Nick Scourton, the Texas A&M edge rusher / defensive lineman, goes to the Dolphins.
I guess that'd be fine. A guard would make a lot of sense. I don't know if there's a first-round guard in
13,
this draft.
13 taking a guard is.
I'm sure you get a quality one in the second round.
Yeah.
Not that they are short on needs, but
At 14, Malachi Starks, the safety out of Georgia, goes to the Colts.
Sure. Curious who their defense coordinator is first, but it's not that they couldn't use one.
15, the Falcons take James Pierce Jr., edge rusher out of Tennessee. You can just best edge rusher. We need some kind of pass rush.
Pass rush. They've been trying for a decade.
16, Kenneth Grant of Michigan, the defensive lineman, goes to the Arizona Cardinals.
Mm-hmm. I think that'll be defense for them.
17, Princely Umanala, edge rusher out of Ole Miss.
That's how you say it.
Yeah.
To who?
Umina Malin, edge rusher out of Ole Miss, goes to the Bengals.
Sure. Opposite Hendrickson? Yeah.
Murphy hasn't worked out.
No.
Hubbard just had the injury.
Yeah. I wonder if he's a cap casualty, too. I know that there's, like, people in the know said there's about 5 defensive starters they're going to cut.
Yeah. 18, Luther Burden, the third, the wide receiver from Missouri, goes to the Seahawks.
Could you get DK Metcalf?
Potentially. They're going to.
You talk about a volatile.
They're probably going to move on. Yeah, no kidding. They're probably going to move on from Lockett.
Oh, I think he's a cap casualty.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean,
and Smith and Jigba's the dude.
He's a dude, right? Yeah. That's why I mentioned. I don't know if in this instance, I don't think Metcalf would be back.
Yeah. 19, Ashton Genty, running back out of Boise, goes to the Houston Texans.
I like it. I mean, we get one more year out of Mixon, maybe.
Yeah.
I don't know. I don't love it.
I think the Broncos would hate it because
Denver's where I want to see him go.
Because at 20, they had the pick after the Texans. That's not right. He did this last week because he had the Steelers picking at 20. This is just the names anyway.
Okay. Yeah.
At 20, Colston Loveland, the tight end out of Michigan, goes to Denver.
That would make sense. Or the Penn State kid, or, they could use a tight end.
21, Shamar Stewart, the defensive tackle from Texas A&M, goes to Tampa.
Okay. A lot different than Clancy or Vea.
Now, remember, the Steelers have 21.
No, that's actually their spot, yeah.
J.D. Barron, I should say, the cornerback out of Texas, goes to the Steelers at 22.
Okay. Don't know a ton about him. I mean, I know the name.
He's got size.
I know he's not small.
23, Tyler Warren, the tight end out of Penn State, goes to the Rams.
Yeah. I mean, back 7, I would think, is a priority, but tight end would go a long way in that group.
Yeah. Siobhan Revel Jr., the cornerback out of East Carolina, goes to the Packers.
Yeah. I think that's – I don't know how you count on Jari Alexander. Corner's probably
he may
the
not be
weakest spot.
He may not be a Packer anymore.
No, he might not. And he seems like a volatile dude, too.
Landon Jackson, the edge rusher out of Arkansas, goes at 25 to the Chargers.
Sure. I mean, Bosa and Mack are up in age. I don't think they'd go that route.
Mack might retire.
Could.
There's some.
I know the USC kid they like a lot is their number 3 dude. His name I don't pronounce well.
Jackson might be able to bulk him up and play him as a 3-4 end.
He's bigger than.
Yeah.
He's got some size.
He's like 6'7", 290.
Mm-hmm.
Ariante Ursary, the offensive tackle out of Minnesota, goes to Washington.
Could see that.
Josh Simmons, the offensive tackle from Ohio State, goes to the Ravens.
Maybe they could wait on Stanley's up.
Stanley's up. So is Makari.
Yeah. Okay, that's a lot of O-line change in 2 years.
And they don't have much cap space.
No, they don't.
Emory Jones, the offensive tackle out of LSU, goes at 28 to the Vikings.
I don't think they'd go tackle. I mean, Darrisaw's
I
locked
think
up
he's
and O'Neill's
kind of a guard.
Do you think they'd kick him in?
Yeah.
And their interior line needs work.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, he's not 6'6".
No. Trey Amos, the cornerback out of Ole Miss, goes to the Bills.
Yeah. I'm fine with that as well. I mean, what's his face? Bradford's been really good for them, but,
The Eagles take Emeka Ibuka, the wide receiver out of Ohio State, at 30.
I don't know what direction. What do they need? I mean, they got a really stacked roster.
Yeah.
I don't know who their free agents are. I know Zach Bond's up.
Yeah.
But
He's going to cost him a heck of a lot more than he did this year.
Yeah.
Walter Nolan, the defensive lineman out of Ole Miss, goes to the Chiefs.
I think he'll be at the Senior Bowl.
Yeah.
Be a good guy to learn from Chris Jones.
And Tyleek Williams, the defensive lineman out of Ohio State, goes at 32 to the Detroit Lions.
Put in next to DJ Reader. I mean, it's a lot of beef.
A lot of beef.
Yeah. Okay.
Just some names to throw out there.
Right, yeah.
Yeah. But
who'd the Steelers end up with again?
they end up with a cornerback.
The corner from Texas.
Took the corner from Texas.
We took a corner yesterday if you weren't tuned in.
We did as well. Yeah.
It doesn't seem like that area of the first round is bad for corners. There's the East Carolina kid.
If you like those corners, that's a couple of them are coming off of injuries.
Yeah, I'm not sure what's going on with the Notre Dame dude. And,
yeah.
Right. Injury wise, will they be working out the combine or not? It's all the stuff we need to figure out.
Yeah, but it's a great defensive line draft.
It is.
I think we just rolled through that, and there were like 6 defensive linemen taken in the first round, and
several of them after the Steelers pick are in that neighborhood that could be there. Nolan's really attractive to me from what I've seen. Yeah.
Yeah. So there's some dudes.
No, there's some dudes. Yeah.
And it's just a matter of identifying the right dudes and which direction you want to go.
Mm-hmm. A lot of puzzle pieces need to start falling into place here for free agencies and signing your own and all that good stuff too.
Yeah. So a lot to take place here in the next 2 months, and we'll be.
It's a great time of year, though.
Oh.
I love this part of it.
Yeah.
And try to think as all 32 teams think and why they're doing the moves they are and all that good stuff.
This is what you live for.
Yeah, I love it. Yeah, and I like it.
You like this more than the damn games.
I might like it more in the regular season. Yeah. I mean, the free agent week and draft week is the best thing going. It really is.
Yeah. So anyways, that's just a little mock draft there from Ryan Wilson. Again, that was done before the official draft order said. But just some names to keep an eye on here. And again, we'll be at the NFL Scouting Combine. Let's go through the NFL Scouting Combine here when we come back on some of the names that interest us that are on that list.
Okay. You mean Senior Bowl?
Or Senior Bowl, I'm sorry.
Yeah. Okay.
Senior Bowl.
It's a good group.
We'll do that when we come back. He is Matt Williamson. I am Dale Lolley. You're listening to The Drive here on the Steelers Audio Network. Welcome back. I am Dale Lolley. He is the Matt Williamson. And Matt, as I mentioned, the Senior Bowl roster has been set.
Yeah.
And obviously there'll be some changes here and there.
There's even changes
There
during the
always
week.
are. There are changes during that week when guys get hurt or guys decide they're too hurt to work out or whatever. But if you look at some of the highlights of this year's roster.
Yeah, people were raving about it.
The quarterback group.
So there's legit quarterbacks. There's been some Senior Bowls where none of these guys are going to play.
Yeah.
Right.
So this year it's Jackson Dart from Mississippi, Dylan Gabriel from Oregon, Will Howard from Ohio State, Riley Leonard from Notre Dame, Jalen Milroe from Alabama, and Tyler Schaff from Louisville.
Maybe none of those guys are super high picks, but they're all guys now.
They're all guys who are going to get drafted probably.
Right. Ohio State, Oregon.
Yeah.
These are big-time programs. You don't have to watch much college football to run across those names. Right.
And,
Milroe's exciting to me. He brought him up yesterday. Just from a Steeler perspective, I wonder what he could become.
Yeah. He's the one with the most upside.
Sure.
Somebody asked me today on the comments about Will Howard. I like some of what I see from him.
Yeah.
Does he have the athleticism that you're looking for at the position?
I think that's a concern.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's not his strength.
Yeah. There's another.
He looks like an NFL player.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Somebody else like Jackson Dart from Mississippi, and I get it. He's got a lot of the stuff that you look for.
Productive and all that, but those Ole Miss quarterbacks in that goofy system, that's a tough transition.
I watched the last.
Matt Corral.
It was one of the last games of the season. They needed to win. I can't remember if they were playing maybe South Carolina game. Okay. I'm watching that, and he kept
they had to have.
Kept throwing interception after interception. I'm like, man, I wanted to like that more. And it just,
yeah. I have a feeling that's going to be a common thread with a lot of these quarterbacks this year.
To your point, you don't know if it's the system that held them back a little bit or what they can become in something else.
Yeah.
And maybe you go back. A lot of these guys transferred from other schools, so you go back and look at the old tape.
Yeah.
How did they perform in this system versus this system?
It's an in-depth process.
Yeah. At running back,
there's some names here.
It's a good group here too. Right. Donovan Edwards from Michigan.
There's a lot of good ones.
Ollie Gordon from Oklahoma State, R.J. Harvey from UCF, Jarquez Hunter from Auburn, Woody Marks from USC, Damian Martinez from Miami, Khalil Mullings from Michigan, Devin Neal from Kansas, Brashard Smith from SMU, Bashul Tootin from Virginia Tech, and Marcus Yarns from Delaware. Don't know much about him, but
no, I'm sure he's super productive. You're a running back from Delaware and you're invited to the Senior Bowl. You put up yards.
You probably did some good things.
Did some good things, but I think there's all shapes and sizes. Senior Bowl's not the best evaluation for running backs.
Yeah.
They don't break tackles, but you do get to body type them and see them move around and
see the burst, how they catch the ball.
Exactly.
Can they pick up blitzes and things of that nature?
They'll do some protection drills too.
Yeah.
The linemen are the ones that are stealing the show, from what I understand.
Yeah. The wide receiver group. There's some guys here that are interesting. There are more mid-round guys.
I don't think there's stars in this group. Right?
Alec Yaimanor from Stanford. That's a name to watch. I think
somebody tweeted us about him yesterday.
Yeah, he's a nice player.
Has
Jack
some Steeler
Beck,
traits.
Jack Beck from TCU was another guy that I think he's the guy who had a brother die in the attack in New Orleans.
Did,
but he's a big. He's got some talent there. Pat Bryant from Illinois, Shamir Dyke from Florida, Daquan Felton from Virginia Tech, Ty Felton from Maryland, Jaden Higgins from Iowa State, Tez Johnson from Oregon, Jalen Lane from Virginia Tech, Jalen Noel from Iowa State, Xavier Restrepo from Miami, Jalen Royals from Utah State. I like him a lot.
I'd say he's going to be probably the one I'm looking at most of that group.
Arian Smith from Georgia and Kyle Williams from Washington State.
Now, this is a good group to distinguish themselves.
Yeah.
You can run flat-out routes.
These are guys that you're looking at round 2, 3 type guys that.
Yeah. I'm sure some of those guys even drift into the 4th and 5th when it's all said and done. But there's a lot of draftable players there.
Yeah.
But they'll just think a couple will really shine that week.
Tight end, you're looking at Elijah Rojo from Miami, Gavin Bartholomew from Pitt, Jake Bringstool from Clemson, C.J. Dipre from Alabama, Harold Fanning Jr. from Bowling Green.
Super productive. People will be talking about him a lot there.
Terrence Ferguson from Oregon, Jackson Hawes from Georgia Tech, Gunnar Helm from Texas, Malachi Montevo from UCLA, and Mason Taylor from LSU.
Well, that's a lot of tight ends.
A lot of tight ends.
Yeah, and it's supposedly a deep and rich at the top tight end class. It's one of the stronger positions.
Yeah. I'm interested to see the Bowling Green kid, though.
Yeah,
again,
me too.
It's the same thing. Like you coming from Bowling Green.
Oh, he set records, yeah.
Yeah. Offensive line, you got Anthony Belton, Logan from NC State, Logan Brown from Kansas, Josh Carnley from Oregon, Johnny Cornelius from Oregon. This one, Ursery from Minnesota is going to be there. I'm just going to hit the big names on this one.
There's some potential first-round picks amongst the linemen.
Wyatt Millam from West Virginia is going to be there.
Yeah.
He's a nice player. Emory Jones from LSU is going to be there.
One-on-one big guy stuff's going to be fun this year.
Yeah. Jack Nelson from Wisconsin. Jonah Saya, another name the kid from Arizona. The Arizona kid, 7'8".
The big guard masher type.
Jared Wilson from Georgia. Carson Vincent from Alabama State's another one that's another of these small or Alabama A&M, I should say.
Okay.
Another one of these big small school guys. And then Gray Zabel from North Dakota State is going to be there. So
good. He's a nasty finisher type dude too.
Yeah,
people are excited about him.
Keep an eye on that. Interior defensive line. This is where the stars are here at the Senior Bowl this year.
I have a feeling we're going to fall in love with one or two of them and end up mocking them to the Steelers from time. I can already predict the future on this one, right, while we're in Mobile.
So you got Darius Alexander from Toledo. I need to do more homework on him.
Yeah.
Yaha Black from Iowa. Jamari Caldwell from Oregon. Alfred Collins from Texas. Josh Farmer from Florida State. Ty Hamilton from Ohio State. Cam Jackson from Florida, Walter Nolan from Mississippi.
He might be the best player there when it's all said and done,
Omar Norman Lott from Tennessee, Aeneas Peebles from Virginia Tech, Shamar Turner from Texas A&M, and Dion Walker from Kentucky.
Who's going to be really interesting
Who
to
is
watch in
a
person, too.
mountain of a man.
Yeah. I don't see him mocked in the first round anymore.
Yeah.
But you start talking about the second round, a guy like that for the Steelers? I mean, one of these 360 that can move type of dudes. He doesn't always line up at the nose either. They'll play some end, and interesting guy. But he's going to stand out. I can tell you that.
He's going to stand out, all right.
Yeah.
The edge rushers. Looking here at that group, you got Vernon Broughton from Texas, Jordan Birch from Oregon, Donovan Uzikara from Boston College. He's a good edge rusher.
Yeah, he's had a good career.
Mike Green from Marshall, another guy who's
really
very productive.
Interesting player. Yeah, very explosive.
Tyron Ingram Dawkins from Georgia, Jared Ivey from Mississippi, Landon Jackson from Arkansas. We just talked about him in the previous segment there.
He'll stand out too.
6'7", 290.
Arms like vines.
I just wonder if he's a 4-3 end.
I don't know.
Yeah, I'm not sure.
I don't think he's a stand-up outside linebacker type.
I don't think so.
Right,
no. Savon Jones from LSU, Ja Joyner from Minnesota, Kyle Kennard from South Carolina, Olufemi Oledejo from UCLA, Ty Robinson from Nebraska, T.J. Sanders from South Carolina, it's a nice player, Nick Scourton from Texas A&M.
Probably a first-round pick.
We just did a mock draft there, and he was top 12 pick.
Yeah.
Baron Sorrell from Texas, Josiah Stewart from Michigan, Shamar Stewart from Texas A&M. So you get three of the
A&M's got some dudes. Yeah.
Those three Texas A&M front seven guys. Princely Emma Umelin from Mississippi,
earlier,
and David Walker from Central Arkansas.
I've heard really good things about Walker too. I mean, he's a really physical destroying bad competition guy.
Yeah.
Right.
Which is what you want to see.
Oh, yeah,
Like if you're playing in a smaller place, you better own it.
Then if you hang in Mobile, that's a huge step for the Scouts.
Huge.
Right.
Linebacker, okay. Eugene Asante from Auburn, Jeffrey Bossa from Oregon, Shamar James.
Bossa's the one I think people are most excited about.
Yeah, he's probably the best of the group. Shamar James from Florida, Demetrius Knight Jr. from South Carolina, Cody Lindenberg from Minnesota, Nick Martin from Oklahoma State.
Real quick, I was just reading up on Lindenberg. He's on the Feldman Freak list.
Okay.
I mean, as like a 245-pound dude, too. So he may really stand out as a mover.
Yeah. Nick Martin from Oklahoma State has gotten quite a bit of pub.
Mm-hmm.
Jalen McLeod from Auburn, Samael Mondon Jr. from Georgia, Colin Oliver from Oklahoma State, Tyreen Pyle from Rutgers, Kareen Reed from Utah, and Carson Schwelsinger from UCLA.
I don't know if the Steelers will be in that market.
I don't think so.
No, not really.
I mean, Peyton Wilson was a steal last year.
Yeah. I mean, of course, 6th, 7th round, you might grab somebody like that.
Sure, might play special teams.
Whatever, right?
Yeah.
Fight Mark Robinson first spot or whatever.
By the way, Mark Robinson had a nice year on special teams.
Yeah, I'm going to say he took a step forward as
a huge
professional
step forward,
player.
Yeah. Cornerback, B.J. Adams from UCF.
Heard good things about him, too. He's a big guy.
Big guy. Trey Amos from Mississippi.
Mm-hmm.
Maxwell Hairston from Kentucky, another one that's highly thought of.
Yeah.
Tommy Hill from Nebraska. Bilal Cone from Western Michigan. Mac McWilliams from UCF. Jacob Parrish from K-State. Darian Porter from Iowa State. Quincy Riley from Louisville. Jalen Smith from USC. Upton Stout from Western Kentucky. Dorian Strong from Virginia Tech. And Azirie Thomas from Florida State.
Okay. I think he's more of a man-to-man type guy, too. So I need to know those names better, but that's certainly going to be a real focus of mine when we're down there.
Yeah, I've heard read some good stuff about Porter and Dorian Strong as well.
And I just heard people saying it's a pretty good Mobile corner class overall. Yeah,
the kid from Kentucky's got some skill. At the safety position, you got Billy Bauman from Oklahoma, Sebastian Castro from Iowa, Maxim Hook from Toledo, Rayun Lane from Navy, Andrew Makuba from Texas. He's a nice player. Caleb Ranasaw from Tulane, Lathan Ransom from Ohio State, Jonas Sanker from...
Real quick on Ransom, he's kind of like the Clark to Polamalu. Yeah, like they have that stud safety, but he's the one that aligns everybody. He's the quarterback on the back end.
Yeah. Jonas Sanker from Virginia, Dante Trader from Maryland, Malik Verdon from Iowa State, and Hunter Wohler from Wisconsin.
Again, I'm not sure the Steelers will hit this position super hard, but the linebackers and safeties in the late rounds for special teams reasons.
Yeah.
And what of that group can play the slot?
That's the big thing.
Yeah,
who are your slots? I want to watch the slot type guys who they line up there at the Senior Bowl.
And they'll do man-to-man drills against tight ends and some receivers as well. And they won't just sit there in deep middle doing nothing.
Yeah, the specialists. I don't know if the Steelers are going to be in the market for this.
Nah.
But Austin Brinkman from West Virginia is going to be there as a long snapper, as is William Wagner from Michigan. And then you got your punters are James Burnett from Alabama and Jeremy Crawshaw, I should say, from Florida. Your kickers are Ryan Fitzgerald from Florida State and Caden Davis from Mississippi.
One thing I did notice, I just looked at the kickers, not that I even know anything about them, but they're all warm weather guys.
Yeah. Weird.
Yeah.
Weird. But, yeah, it's I mean, there's some guys there. I'll bet you there's probably of this group that's going to be down there at least 10 to 15 that are going to be top 50 picks. Maybe more.
How many first-round picks they had last year, but it was like 7 or 8.
Yeah.
They don't think it's going to hit that number for first-rounders, but there's definitely a few. D-line and O-line come to mind.
D-line and O-line are going to be fun to watch.
Maybe up to 8, just in that group, maybe.
Yeah.
But no, you're right. How many did you say in like top 50?
I said 10 to 15, somewhere in that range.
I think that's probably fair.
Yeah. And so, if that's the case, okay.
Yeah, there's going to be talent.
That's why it's worth being there. And
it's pretty rare for any of those guys not to end up on a team, too.
Yeah. One of the things about the Senior Bowl that if you're a team such as the Steelers who are always drafting 15 or lower, the top 15 guys never go to these all-star games.
Very rarely, Yeah. Marvin
anymore.
Harrison Jr. wasn't there.
Those guys aren't going there. So you're going to get eyeballs on a lot of these guys who are going to be there for you in the first and second rounds, let alone the third and fourth rounds.
Yeah.
And later.
There's a ton of interviewing that goes on behind the scenes. You get official heights and weights for the first time in a while, body types.
You get to see them work.
You get to see them work. You really get to know the human beings, too. I mean, even if you're not one of the coaching staffs, which is a nice advantage, but there's a lot of time at night that you sit down with these guys and open ballrooms where they're at, and you can just sit and pick their brains.
Yeah.
It's pretty cool.
Yeah, this is one where, I'm trying to think of who I've talked to over the years. I think Keanu Benton was a guy that stood out to me down there a couple years ago that I'm like, oh, he might be a Steeler.
Yeah. I'm sure there's a high percentage of Steelers that played in the game. Of course,
and just I know Hines Ward was on the all-time Senior Bowl list.
Oh, was he really?
Okay. Their all-time team. He was one of the players because he went to the Senior Bowl. And,
it was a success story. Obviously.
Get a chance to show. Hey, I can be a full-time wide receiver. Because if you remember,
he was a jack of all trades.
Played a little bit of everything.
He took snaps and all that kind of stuff too. So for people who don't know, there's really 3 pretty intense practices that rev up day after day after day. Then there's a walkthrough, and by then most of the scouts are gone. We'll be gone.
Yeah.
And then the game on Saturday, and the scouts basically just watch that tape.
And the way that works is the one team will work against the other, the defensive players, like the offensive from that team will work against the defense from that team. And then likewise in the afternoon, the other team will be on the field, and they'll have and then they bring it all together at the end for the game.
Is it North and South still? Or I think they call it like
American and National.
Or something like
American
that
and
too.
National. So
I mean, sometimes an Oregon kid would end up on the South team.
Yeah,
I mean, like it was.
You got to split them up evenly. Who was it last year that changed teams?
It was somebody.
He practiced all week long.
There's a brand name guy. I should know that off the top of my head.
Yeah, and I can't remember who it was. He was like one of the stars of the week, and then they changed him.
Short the defensive.
Yeah,
defensive
they moved him to the
player.
other team.
I
can't remember.
Now you're on the other team. Like, all right. Well, I've gone against these linemen all week. I'll whip up on my former teammates. Right.
So that's how it goes. But always look forward to going down there. And again, it kind of, to me, doesn't kickstart the process because I've already started looking at a lot of these prospects.
It's like officially draft season.
It gives you the opportunity to get eyeballs on these guys.
There's only 2 teams still alive at that point.
Nobody works the field among the NFL coaches quite like Mike Tomlin does.
He's really involved.
He's got hands-on down there talking to guys on the field, watching drills closely.
Yeah.
He wants to get a feel for these guys.
If you guys don't remember, I think it was Tomlin that was really pushing Roman Wilson to go against Mitchell from Toledo.
Yeah.
Why don't you 2 square off?
Yeah.
Ended up with one of them.
Yeah. So that's how that works. But anyways, that's what the Senior Bowl roster looks like this year. Good roster.
It's a real good roster. Yeah,
a lot of guys are going to get drafted. But we'll be there in a couple of weeks.
We'll be talking about these guys.
Yeah. We'll be talking about all that stuff while we're down there. But he is Matt Williamson. I am Dale Lolley. You're listening to The Drive on the Steelers Audio Network. Of course, you can hear The Drive every Monday through Friday from 4 to 6 p.m. right here on these very airwaves. You can also download the Steelers mobile app and get it there, and as well as watching our show on YouTube or listening to it.
Yeah,
put it on while you work, background noise, and go from there.
Yeah, leave us a comment, do whatever you want.
Yeah, absolutely. But we'll be back with more right after this. And welcome back. I am Dale Lolley. He is the Matt Williamson, except no imitations. And Matt, just to wrap up the show here, the Mike Tomlin press conference today.
Yeah.
Mike was asked about, what does he say to fans that are frustrated about the finishes, and everything, how this has transpired. He said, look,
there's a few of them out there, by the way.
Well, no kidding. Really.
I don't know if you've seen anyone, your stuff, but
I've heard some things here and there. Yeah. And he said, look, I'm frustrated as well. I'm just as much as you are because, as he said, he thought this team was going to be different.
Mm-hmm.
And at times it was different.
Yeah. It showed glimpses of it. It teased you with it a little bit, quite a bit.
And so, now they have to go through and figure out what went wrong. Was it, where did this thing go south? Mm-hmm. And this is not making up an excuse or anything, but you can look at that 3-game stretch in 11 days.
Oh, there's an obvious line of demarcation.
Three teams that are still alive in the postseason, and you had a bunch of injuries, and it went south at that point. Mm-hmm. And
including the Bengals game, I mean, they were good opponents.
They were good, really good opponents that you lost to. Ideally, you win a couple of those games, and if you do that, you were playing the Ravens at home potentially, or you're playing somebody else at home,
or at least going to Houston or whatever. Right.
And so it's just little things like that go wrong in a season, and so now you have to again take that step back and say, okay, how can we get better? How can we make this work better than what it is? Because again, you're not going to have Lamar Jackson walking through that door. You're not going to have Josh Allen walking through that door to be your quarterback.
You got to beat those guys in the playoffs, and that's as daunting a task as I can remember. During the Ben era, there was Manning and Brady too.
Yeah.
I mean, this isn't a new
But
phenomenon.
You had one of those guys.
But you at least were in.
You had a dude.
You had a dude.
Your
guy could battle those dudes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And people complained then, well, you can't beat Brady. Not many people did.
Few do.
Yeah.
Very few do. And Mahomes gets another ring. You know what's going to be going on in Buffalo and Baltimore? Our guy's choker can't beat Mahomes.
Can't beat Mahomes.
Right. Few do. Yeah, I mean, it's a shortcut, but you got bounced by Lamar, you got bounced by Allen, and you got bounced by Mahomes 3 years in a row. Well, it'd be nice to have one of them, but you're not gonna.
But you don't.
What do you do?
So now how do you pivot and adjust and play winning football without one of those guys?
Yeah, and there's a difference between doing it in regular season and the postseason too. And frankly, that last month of the season kind of had a postseason feel to it too.
And here's the thing about it, Matt.
On your bodies and brains.
And you're old enough to remember this as well as am I, dating ourselves here. But people forget.
Well, I'm old enough. You're definitely old enough.
You didn't have to go there. I included myself in that. You didn't have to.
True. I took the low.
But you did.
But I did.
I appreciate that. Anyways, from the time Terry Bradshaw retired, until you got Ben Roethlisberger,
that whole stretch, you're right.
You went to one Super Bowl,
and hey, there's some okay quarterbacks that stretch.
You went to multiple AFC championships. In between that, but you went to one Super Bowl.
Folks, it's not a coincidence that Bradshaw got rings, Ben got rings, Neil and Bubby and didn't.
Yeah.
Quarterbacks are really important.
It's kind of a big deal. It's kind of the most important position on the field.
Yes.
And,
now,
can you win without one of those guys? Yeah, there are instances where where teams have done this, but by and large, Scotty Campbell's not getting you to the Super Bowl.
No. And I know there's a lot of heat on Tomlin right now, and take this however you want. But I cut and pasted this from Bill Barnwell's article the other day. And frankly, I look at it like most coaches wouldn't have even got you this far. You can take it however you want, folks, and there's good and bad. But over the past 5 years, 70 teams have made it to the postseason. Okay, I mean, that's the way it works.
Yeah.
Among the qualifiers, Tomlin's Steelers have ranked 58th, 64th, 67th, and 68th out of 70 in QBR.
Yeah. I don't even know what QBR is, though, to be honest.
I don't either, but it's not. They're not the top of the list.
It's not the top of the list, yeah.
You know what I mean? And I don't think anyone has to squint too far to figure out Pickett, Trubisky, they're not Mahomes. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Should you have even been in the playoffs? Now, that's a whole different can of worms. But I don't know that most coaches even get you in with bottom of the league, bottom of the playoff field quarterback play.
Yeah.
And I'm not a QBR guy, but I mean, it's just, I thought that was eye-opening. It's like, wow, even this whole season, it's Fields and Wilson combined. You know?
And you have to look at it not just through a Steelers lens, but look at it from the league perspective of, let's say, Justin Herbert or, Trevor Lawrence.
Yeah, I would say Lawrence is one.
These guys were highly drafted quarterbacks. Everybody would take them on their team. If Trevor Lawrence or Justin Herbert were available this offseason,
they would get a different story than the free agent money we were talking about.
They would get $50+ million a year
in a heartbeat.
And between the two of them, they've got one playoff win, and that came when one beat the other one.
Yeah,
after the other one his team blew a 24-point lead.
Mm-hmm.
Like
Herbert's a great example. Like, he's had two really bad playoff performances, but you also I wouldn't mind being the lawyer trying to prosecute him or defend him. Like, he's got one guy to throw to, and they can't pick up a blitz. And he's trying to get Quentin Johnson to beat Stingley. But you're throwing the ball to the other team a lot, and you're not elevating your guys too. it's a brutal world. You know?
It really is. And so you either have the quarterback or you don't. And there's some luck involved.
Mm-hmm.
The Steelers were fortunate when they got Ben Roethlisberger.
Absolutely.
He was not a top 10 pick.
Right. Like, think all the optimism in Chicago when they got the first overall pick. We got Caleb Williams. Man, we're going to be one of those teams. Maybe you will be, but you're not. You're a long way from being one of those teams right now.
Yeah.
You know, and even though you got or Jacksonville with Lawrence, I'm talking about these transcendent quarterback prospects. I mean, I don't think Caleb's going to be the best quarterback in his class.
It doesn't mean that you can't get there. It doesn't mean that you can't find those guys beyond, the first 10 picks or the top 10 picks.
Right.
Lamar Jackson was the 31st pick in the draft. You can go on down the line with guys who have been later picks that you catch fire with or catch lightning in a bottle. But you got to have the quarterback. Mm-hmm. You have to. And if you don't have the quarterback, you're a team that's constantly searching for the quarterback.
Yeah, and I'm even looking at, like, the NFC teams. Now, the NFC teams don't have to go through the string of beating Allen, Lamar, Mahomes, or two of the three. But, and I know Stafford was the first pick in the draft. Goff was the first pick in the draft. And Stafford's my favorite of the NFC quarterbacks.
Hurts was a second-round pick.
Yeah. But my point is, though, those guys aren't the superheroes that Josh Allen are.
Yeah.
But can they win the Super Bowl? I think.
One of them's going to get there.
One of them's going to get there, probably against Lamar, Mahomes, or Allen.
Yeah.
Probably. And can they win that game? Yeah. I just think the AFC is a little tougher to get there. A little tougher. And it will be for the next couple of years or decade.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean,
that's the way it is.
Yeah, that's the reality of the situation.
In the Ben era too.
Right.
I mean, it was better in the AFC.
If you look at the era when the Steelers had Roethlisberger, Manning, Brady, and Roethlisberger took up 90% of the Super Bowls that were played from AFC teams.
Like, the guy that to me got so shortchanged was Rivers. Like, if Rivers is the NFC, maybe he's right there with Breeze and Rodgers and and really taking this team. Rodgers a little younger, but you had some powerhouses.
But the first step in doing that is winning a playoff game.
Of course.
You got to win the first one before you get to the next one. And so that's the task that's ahead of the Steelers here as we head into the offseason.
Best way to do that is win the division. That was for the taking this year. And then you're at least hosting a game.
Right. Yeah. Real quick here, the Steelers signed 17 guys to future reserve contracts, including a quarterback, that being Skylar Thompson, who used to be with the Miami Dolphins. So don't read too much into that.
No.
These are futures deals.
He'll be in camp.
Yeah.
Those guys will be in camp.
Yeah, maybe. If they
and it's not even a done deal with that, But he could be maybe your third or fourth.
Yeah. So that's where we're at. But that's going to do it for today's show. Be careful if you're out there on the roads. I understand it's getting a little slick out there. But for my partner, Matt Williamson, for Justin Miller here on site running the Justin Miller hotline and the soundboard, and for Tyler Vittmeyer making sure our video gets out there on the YouTube. Check that out. Tyler likes that when we get lots of hits on that. I am Dale Lolley. We thank you for listening to this edition of The Drive on the Steelers Audio Network.
Steelers football happens here. The Pittsburgh Steelers Audio Network.